Here today, I'm Anjali Istawal. Let's begin this bulletin with the big breaking news coming in right now. It seems that the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has invoked Jaish confessions. Remember, there is a video of Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Ilyas Kashmiri, which is doing the rounds, in which he can be seen making many confessions. Well, it seems Rajnath Singh has mentioned that. He has said that terrorist kin were killed in Operation Sindoor. He is referring to the death of family of Masood Azhar, which was mentioned by the commander of Jaish-e-Mohammed. Rajnath Singh also said that Jaish has admitted that their terror headquarters was demolished, also thereby verifying that terror is what originates from Bahawalpur. Rajnath Singh also said that terrorist Masood's family was completely destroyed, and this has also been verified in this very video that has been released on YouTube. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Shivani Sharma. Shivani, after Prime Minister Modi, it seems Rajnath Singh has also referred to a news break by India Today.
Certainly, Anjali, India Today broke the story where we not only played out the video where the commander Ilyas Kashmiri was actually ranting, and he was describing how Masood Azhar lost his family members. He said that Resha maut hui hai. That means they were broken into pieces. It was a damage that not only the Indian strikes, the initial strikes at 9 terror camps devastated Pakistan's terror outfits. But today, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh acknowledged this news break. He says, he has clarified that not only Masood Azhar and his family members, but more than 100 terrorists were killed in Operation Sindoor strikes by Indian armed forces. And that's what is the unimaginable action Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister, was talking about before these strikes were planned, Anjali. And one more very important thing which Defence Minister has said, he's clarified that no third-party interference was being taken into account by India. It is India's independent decision that has not only resorted to this ceasefire understanding after Pakistan came onto its knees after 4 days of action on its 11 air bases, radar systems, and also the 9 terror camps, where we can also see the demolition drives are going on.
Right. Thank you, Shivani, for those details. So, Rajnath Singh has also said that he wants to make it clear that Operation Sindoor is right now sort of paused, and in case any terrorist act occurs, then it will be resumed. He also made it clear that there are some people who are saying that this ceasefire between India and Pakistan, that happened because of someone's interference. But he said that he wants to make it clear that the actions of Indian forces against the terrorists were not postponed because of anyone's interference. This is a clear reference to America and the continuous claims by the American president of mediation. So now let's listen in to what exactly Defence Minister said.
आतंकी संगठन के जैश-ए-मोहम्मद के कमांडर ने स्वीकार किया है कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान बहावलपुर हुए हमले में खूंखार आतंकवादी जो मसूद अजहर के परिवार के टुकड़े टुकड़े हो गए थे, यह था हमारे भारत के सेना के जवानों का शौर्य और पराक्रम। और बहनों भाइयों, कल ही उसकी एक वीडियो भी जारी की गई है। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में यह भारत का सामर्थ्य और भी आगे बढ़ा है। इसलिए कोई भी ताकत भारत की संप्रभुता को चुनौती देने की हिम्मत नहीं कर सकती है।
And now moving on to another breaking news coming in. It seems AI videos are becoming weapon of choice as far as political war is concerned. And another AI war has been triggered after BJP posted a video in Assam. Now, this video shows how Assam would be if there was no BJP. Basically, they are trying to show that it would be a Muslim majority state. And now, Owaisi is targeting BJP and saying that BJP is fear-mongering on Muslim count. He said that this is repulsive Hindutva ideology that the BJP is propagating through this AI-generated video, and he is protesting against this video which has been posted by the BJP, and it is actually meant to target the illegal intruders, but it seems that Owaisi is now upset and is targeting the BJP instead. For more on this, I'm joined by Apurva Jayachandran. Apurva, what is Owaisi saying? What is his contention in this?
In fact, Anjali, what we are getting to learn is that this particular AI-generated video titled Assam Without BJP, even if you've seen the video that shows how there are several, depicts Muslims in various parts of the state as illegal immigrants taking over public places and government lands. And precisely what OAC has also talked about regarding this as well. In fact, he has gone ahead, OAC, and he said that, this video not only shows the Muslim majority Assam, if there was no BJP, but also shows a kind of fear-mongering that the BJP wants to, inculcate into the minds of people through subliminal imaging. That's what, OAC has gone on and said. He said that this is a repulsive Hindutva ideology in true form that has been depicted in this video that has been shown. And in the video as well, I think roughly over 1 minute, this video titled Assam with BJP. And, in that video as well, you can see the kind of images that are being portrayed, and that's what OAC has taken offense to. He talked about how, Muslims, the very existence of Muslims in India is a problem for the BJP, and that their dream is a Muslim Mukt Bharat. Besides that, they don't have a proper vision for India, is what, OAC has slammed the BJP for its very disturbing video that it has put out in the BJP Assam Twitter X handle.
All right, thank you, Apurva, for all those details. Now let's go across to Sakshi Batra of Business Today. Over to you, Sakshi. Good afternoon and welcome to Market Closing on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today Television. It's 3 p.m. and we are here to get you all the market closing action. First, let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space. Donald Trump calls Prime Minister Modi, wishing him happy birthday. Investor sentiment gets boosted right ahead of US Federal Reserve decision on the policy rate front. Nifty hits 25,300 for the first time since July 11, and Sensex is nearing 82,700 mark. PSU Banks and defense stocks rally in trade. Exclusive conversation with Global Head of Equity Strategy at Jefferies, Chris Wood, tells Business Today Television that aggressive investors could bet their entire portfolio on silver. Adds that the Indian stock market story has gone beyond IT and banks, with defense and other sectors now getting high returns. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman at an event has said that the GST rejig is expected to put a whopping 2 lakh crore rupees back into the hands of common man, boosting spending. She's also highlighted that 99% of goods, which earlier had contributed 12% of revenue, now fall under the 5% GST slab, bringing big relief for the middle class and the poor. SEBI is considering opening up the commodities derivatives market to banks and pension funds. Chairman Tuhin Kanta Pandey has said this morning the regulator is also weighing in on a bigger role for foreign portfolio investors in non-agri commodities like gold, silver, crude oil and copper. The move could deepen the market participation and bring in long-term institutional capital into India's commodities trade. The last street is celebrating as Prime Minister Narendra Modi turns 75 today. Since 2014, the Sensex and the Nifty have nearly quadrupled. Small caps have returned 490% returns to investors, while mid caps have rallied 435%. Stronger domestic as well as foreign inflows have been driving India's broader markets past the global peers, including Dow Jones and S&P 500.
top of the show, let's look at how the markets are trading in the last half an hour of trade. Well, the Nifty has been inching further, 25,327 right now at this point in time, 0.3% higher. It's been a choppy ride and this is a range-bound trade since the morning trade, but we have been holding on to the 25,300 odd mark. Look at the Nifty Bank that had crossed over 55,000 on the closing level yesterday. It's inched up even further in trade. What else is picking up is the IT, the heavyweight index that's rallying sharply. Even the PSU Banks, look at the sharp rally there. It's at the day's high point. The PSU Banks are up by 2.5% in trade. We're also looking at the defense stocks, a 2% rally that can be seen. Names like Premier Explosives, even the shipbuilder names like GRSE, Mazagon Dock, they're all rallying in trade. Even the bigger names like HAL and BL are in spotlight. Look at even the oil and gas space that has been ticking higher, 0.6% of a move that can be seen on that one. Now, barring metals, FMCG, consumer durables and pharma. Rest all of the sectors are actually up and about in trade. When we look at the top movers on the Nifty, you will find a lot of consumption-oriented names like Tata Consumer Products, 4% higher. It's the top of the chart stock. It's been holding on to its position right from the morning trade. Even State Bank of India, BEL, Maruti Suzuki, Kotak Mahindra Bank, these are all the stocks that are rallying upwards of 1.5% in trade. On the downside, however, you have ITC, Bajaj Finserv, Titan, Hindalco and SBI Life Insurance. Those are the stocks that are still falling behind in the race. PSU stocks are definitely the flavor, 0.8% of a rally on the higher side. Apart from the defense names, you also spot a lot of railway-related counters that are up and about in trade as well. Let me also pull up a few Nifty 500 names for all our viewers to see what else is ticking higher. Well, the top of the charts is actually Urban Company. Its debut day today, still holding above 61% of a move on the higher side. Remember, Urban Company has made this stellar debut with 57% premium listing and thereafter it moved up another 11% in trade. So it's holding on to smart gains at this point in time on day one. We also have secondary market stocks like Prozone Realty, DCM, Shriram that's been holding higher. Even some of the textile oriented stocks, remember, they are actually rallying in trade on the back of hopes that the US-India trade talks can resume soon. So those are the key spaces that are also buzzing. Let's actually welcome now our guest on board, Mr. Sunil Shah, the fund manager of SRE PMS, is now joining in on the program. Sunil, warm welcome. Good afternoon to you. Tell me, how are you looking at the current texture of the markets? What is next? Do you think the worst is behind for Dalal Street and everything will actually move upwards and in festive spirits too?
Yeah, thanks, Shakshi, for having me on the show. So clearly, we are getting into a market on the positive bias. The truce, which is apparently happening now again between India and US, is putting one of the biggest challenges to the market on the backside for the time being. There is huge amount of liquidity which is there with the Indian investors. We have seen that SIP flows are continuously inching up with every passing day. And all the steps that the government has taken, whether it is in terms of reducing the interest rates or relaxing the taxation or the GST, plus coupled with great monsoon. So festive season is going to be much better. And let's also understand, we have seen almost 1 year of time correction in the market. Practically, if you see the Nifty broader terms, it's just been at a very, very flat to a modest positive for last 12 months. So that's a good time correction which has happened. And now with the macros changing both locally as well as globally, I think markets can look forward to a much better ride in the times to come. So investors
Absolutely,
with long-term investment horizon should continue to invest. Yes, thanks.
So positive momentum ahead. Which are the top 3 or 4 themes that you're looking at that will be the key drivers to take the Nifty upwards from here on? Remember, we are just about 1,000 points away from the all-time high levels. What will take the lead, Sunil?
Yeah, if we talk about Nifty per se, then the sectors which are there in Nifty are broader terms mature sector. So the oil and gas, the IT and the banking, those are mature sectors for which growth will be very difficult. But if we look at the other emerging sectors where the actual business is doubling in a 4-year period, so whether it is electronics manufacturing space, defense, now shipping is going to take a big lead in future. So if investors have to make a lot of money and outperform the market, it is better to be in these emerging sectors rather than be in those mature sectors of the Nifty. So that's the way investors can shape their portfolio, look at all those spaces, even the cyber security, for instance. There are companies which are listed in that pocket. If investors can find those ideas rather than the
Give us
broader
some
market.
kind of
Lot
names
money
also,
will be made.
Sunil, for our audiences to understand better. What kind of names should one be really looking at in these teams?
In the defense, we have companies like the Bharat Electronics, which is there, which is one of the most proven company. You have private companies in the defense space like an Apollo Microsystems or an Axis CADS.
Yes.
Those are the ones to watch out for. Maybe you look at cyber security, small cap companies like TAC Infotech kind of idea. So there will be a stock pickers market. It wouldn't be everything which would go up. You identify the stock and you be invested, and I think money will certainly be made amongst all those pockets.
Absolutely. When we talk about the consumption-oriented theme as well, Sunil, what are you betting big on right ahead of the festive season? We are going to be looking at Monday onwards when the GST cuts will finally come into effect. Finance Minister has already pointed out a 2 lakh crore rupee kind of a whopping amount that will be put back into the hands of the Aam Aadmi. And all of that, the hope is that it will come back to the economy by way of spending and by boosting demand on the consumption space. So which are the sectors and pockets that you are betting big on there?
Shakshi, so in the consumption space, I think automobile is going to take a much bigger lead there. The recent GST structure has been very much favorable in the small car segment. So in automobiles, Maruti and M&M remain the top hot favorite. You can also look at auto ancillary companies, which is one step backward integration. So companies like maybe a Gabriel India or a Uno Minda kind of businesses would also do well on the back of the improvement in the auto numbers. So we'll have to look at auto, which I think will take much bigger lead in the Diwali season, is the one to watch out for.
Okay, that's as far as the consumption space is concerned. Autos is where all the money flow could actually be seen. So hold that thought there, Sunil. I'll come back to you. But remember, apart from the equities, it's also the other asset classes, especially the bullion, gold and silver, which are constantly at record high levels. Even if gold and silver are at record highs, one of the biggest global investing gurus, Chris Wood of Jefferies, is still betting big on them. In a conversation with Business Today's Siddharth Zarabi, this is what Chris Wood had to say about bullion and the sectors that he is bullish about in India.
Gold remains a hedge on my base case, which is the dollar is in a long-term downtrend. So my global equity portfolio, I have a 10% position in gold mining stocks, which have been rallying dramatically of late because they've been underperforming gold. Normally they would outperform gold in a bull market, and I have a 6% weighting in Bitcoin ETF. So I have 16% of my global equity portfolio hedging this dollar weakness.
Well,
unfortunately for Indian investors, there aren't any gold mining stocks in the Indian stock market because right now they're in a very good position. Gold's at all-time highs and energy prices are low, which is their major cost. So they're making a lot of money and they don't hedge the gold price anymore.
Absolutely, and there will be a lot of our viewers who would take note of these remarks, not just on gold, but Bitcoin, which also from a direct opportunity within India is barred by regulation. But what about silver, Chris? What's your view on silver?
Well, silver is high beta gold. So if you're an aggressive high beta investor, silver is an interesting speculation. But if I have 80% allocated to gold, or if I have let's say if I have an allocation to precious metals, maybe I put 10-15% of that in silver.
Okay.
But if I'm a very aggressive investor, I may choose to put 100% of it in silver.
Okay, 100% if you are a very aggressive investor. Let's quickly turn to the sectors that you have an eye on as far as India is concerned.
I think with this year it's made sense to tilt it more to the various financial companies, financing companies, which are basically will be geared to lower rates and any pickup in consumption. Then I also think an ongoing theme is infrastructure plays. Airports would be one example. Then there's the travel. There's a whole overseas travel story and inbound tourism story, which I think continues to remain attractive. I think the whole cement sector is getting interesting because of consolidation. Then there's sectors which I don't have exposure to simply because I can't own everything because I have a concentrated portfolio. But clearly in the long term, the whole hospital healthcare story remains very interesting. And more recently, I think there's been more focus on the defense sector, defense stocks in the last couple of years in India, and I expect that to continue. So there's really a lot of themes one can play in India. This market is no longer just about IT services and banks, which was the main focus for about 20 years. That era is over.
A market no longer only limited to IT and banks, and also for aggressive investors who can continue to bet big on silver even at record high levels. Sunil, I'm going to come to you. This was the exclusive interview that our group editor, Siddharth Zarabi, took with Chris Wood of Jefferies. What's your sense when we look at equity versus bullion, gold or silver? I'm sure a lot of your clients would also be asking you this question when gold and silver have rallied 40, 45%, almost 50% in the last 1 year, and the Nifty and the Sensex are almost just flat. Where exactly should the money go? How are you advising them?
Well, yeah, that's really a very great question. So let's understand a little bit on the bullion, the gold part. Globally, the geopolitical situation is what it is in terms of really completely uncertain. What is happening is the central bankers of the world are piling on gold right now. Unlike keeping their currency or the forex reserves into dollar, they are shifting towards gold. If you look at some data points there, from 2010 till 2020, the annual quantum of gold purchased by the central bankers was about 500 metric tons. That has now gone up to 1,200 metric tons from the start of the Ukraine war. And the global production is about 3,500 metric tons. So out of 3,500 metric tons, 1,200 is being purchased by the central bankers alone from their historical purchase of 500.
Yes.
And that is a major shift which has happened and causing the gold prices to go up. So till the time we see that global things continue to be what they are in terms of tariff and a lot of such uncertainties, gold prices will continue to remain firm. So gold is a proxy for global uncertainty, and Indian equity is a proxy for India growth. That's the way we need to look at it.
That's a wonderful take there, Sunil. In fact, gold has been shining bright, one of the best performing asset classes that we do know of. In fact, according to Motilal Oswal's latest gold quarterly review, MCX Gold has actually delivered over 40% returns, while COMEX is actually up by 48%, outshining equities, bonds, and other commodities at large. In fact, this rally, Motilal Oswal Financial Services has penciled, is driven by geopolitical tensions, tariff disputes, and expectations of a global rate cut as well. Now, they have also penciled in higher targets for gold and silver going forward from here. On domestic level, they have mentioned that 1.13 lakh rupees to even 1.2 lakh rupees per 10 grams of gold is what they see coming going forward from here. On the global level, they have targets of $3,800 per ounce to $4,000 per ounce on the COMEX as well. But they have also mentioned that investors must definitely watch out for risks, rising interest rates, a stronger US dollar, or a global economic recovery that could pressure, on the gold prices at the current levels as well. But Sunil, I have to understand from you when it comes to, betting big on gold and silver and these, bullions with respect to somebody who has a heavy weightage on the equity aspect. Would you look at jewelry stocks? Would you look at gold financiers at this point?
Yeah, I think gold financing company is one of the safest business of, lending money. The kind of gold which is there as a security is pretty much tangible and valuable. So I think gold finance companies, the likes of Muthoot Finance, would continue to do very, very well. They have great reach. Their return ratios are extremely strong. The valuation is very much modest. So I think if one has to look at gold, proxy to gold prices, I think Muthoot Finance will be one such company which investors can look at. That's the way we would look at it.
Fair point. Now, when we are talking about the commodities, viewers, in a big boost for the metals and the critical minerals sector, we've seen markets regulator SEBI that could soon allow banks and pension funds to participate in commodities derivatives trading now. There are also plans under consideration to permit foreign investors to trade in the non-agri commodity space as well. Let's listen in to what SEBI chief, Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, had to say.
Enhanced institutional participation will bring in higher liquidity, making the market more attractive for hedging. We will keep working towards a regulatory framework to enable prudent institutional access to these markets. A proposal to allow FPIs to trade in non-cash settled, non-agricultural commodity derivative contracts is also currently under examination. We will also engage with the government to consider banks, insurance companies, and pension funds to trade in these markets.
Absolutely. So there you've heard the SEBI chief talking about it, more developments which will be coming in. We will be tracking that for you and helping you understand what that means for the average investor in the derivatives market as well. But let's go back to Sunil to try and understand when it comes to the other themes. We've discussed a lot of consumption-oriented themes, real economy themes as well. Banking is one space that is now coming back into focus, especially when we talk about the so far underperforming PSU banks that had taken a back seat so far. But in the last couple of weeks, you've again seen PSU banks come back into flavor. Even today, it's the top moving sector, 2.5% higher in trade. What do you think is behind this fresh wave of momentum in PSU banks? Are you again keeping your focus on the PSU banks now vis-a-vis the private sector banks that had a lot to do to recover the Nifty from about 21,000 odd levels back above 25,000 levels? So what next? Will PSU banks take the lead over private banks now?
Shakshi, there is a huge shift which is happening in terms of the exposure which investors have taken to the banking space. The return ratios of public sector banks are inching up very close to the private sector banks. The NPA ratios are closer, the NIMs are very good, and the valuation differential is still about 40% between the valuation of private sector banks and the public sector banks. So with time, given the profitability ratios are coming closer, the valuation gap also has to bridge out. And that is something which is happening now because majority of the public sector banks are still quoting at a discount to their book value. And the private sector banks are still quoting at more than 2 to 2.5 times their book value. So I think money shift is happening and that is what is likely to continue even going forward. So public sector banks clearly will outperform the private sector banks in the times to come. That's the view which we have because the profitability gap is really shrinking.
Absolutely. So definitely we'll look at that space. Apart from this, I also wanted to get a sense from you with respect to the IT sector at large as well. Why are we focusing on that one again is because it has been an underperforming sector right from the time the first time announcements were made on the trade tariffs front by the US. From April up until now, we have been seeing consistent volatility and pressure on these export-oriented sectors, namely IT, pharma. But IT, it's not directly impacted by the tariffs. We all know that. But what the global uncertainty could lead to their outside clients for the IT companies back home in India is something that's put a question mark on the expansion. We've seen a lot of layoffs take place. We've seen companies holding back on the salaries hike front as well. So how are you looking at the IT sector at large? Is the underperformance done and dusted? Is it time now to again look at the IT names now that the talks are progressing on the positive end?
Yeah, Shakshi, so there could be a knee-jerk, reaction from the prices. Prices are absolutely available at a good value. So we could see a spring up of price which can happen. But if you look at really the structural part, the question relies on the growth. So for IT sector, there is this expectation or guidance from the companies about 7 to 8% growth guidance. And you look at the other alternates of defense and shipping, there the growth guidance is upwards of 25%. If you look at the money invested in this, IT pack, there is about 13 lakh crore of free float money which is invested in the IT sector. And in the defense sector, the free float is about 3 lakh crores. So you have a pocket of 3 lakh crores which is growing at 25% plus, and you have a pocket of 13 lakh crores which is growing at 7-8%. So obviously money is likely to shift from those low growth sectors to the higher growth sectors. So I think IT will do slightly better in the short term, but overall, if you look at a slightly longer period, we'll see money shifting from that pocket to the other growth oriented pocket. So that's the thought process which can have on the broader IT sector right now.
Absolutely. Sunil, just help us understand now the outlook with regards to what's happening globally again. All eyes tonight will be on the US Federal Reserve decisions on the policy front. We have not seen a rate cut from the US Fed for a fairly long bit of time. Donald Trump has been consistently and in every which way possible has been putting a lot of pressure on the US Fed to begin cutting the rates, at this point in time, which is necessary for the US economy, which is already looking at some of the impacts of the raising of the tariffs are leading to higher inflation for their company, for their country. And therefore, cutting of rates could actually ease some of that pain for the US as well. How would you look at a rate cut if it happens? Most of the market experts have been penciling in a 25 basis points cut on the rates front as well. The big question, Sunil, will this be a one-off or will this be a string of rate cut cycles that we will continue to see from here on? And what does it mean for countries like India, emerging market companies? We have been facing FII outflows. Do you think the money will come back to us?
Yes, actually, great question. So I completely agree with you that this could be one-off such event. It might not be a series of rate cut. Because if the inflation is up and you cut the rates, that doesn't favor. You need to have a real growth rate. The differential between the interest rates and the inflation should be on the positive side. So it will not be a series of rate cut which can happen. We will see a modest one-off which can happen maybe today or tomorrow. Now, if we talk about India as such, the rating upgrade which has happened for India, and if we see a rate cut happening in those countries, coupled with rising inflation, then maybe we'll see flows of FIs getting shifted to the emerging markets, and in which India could be one of the most favorite. So just to answer your question, we will see one-off rate cut happen there. We will see inflation inching up there, and then only we will see the flows from the FIs getting diverted to the emerging markets, and India being one of the favorites there. So that's the way I think things will pan out with time.
Okay, the markets have shut shop. Let's shift focus to how the markets have ended today's day. 25,330 viewers. We have been able to sustain above the 25,300 odd mark throughout the course of the session today. Amidst all the choppiness that we saw, but 90 points higher on the Nifty is what we see. The Nifty Bank also supported the sentiments with 0.6% of a move and 335 points of a rally there. Some of the other sectors that contributed are the heavyweights, IT sectors, the PSU Banks that continue to rally in trade. Even the small cap index, a smart rally unfolded on that front as well. Small caps ended with 0.6% move on the higher end. We also did see banks, especially the PSU banks that rallied, oil and gas, autos, realty, also moving in higher in trade as well. Metals, however, fell behind. Consumer durables, FMCG and pharma, the only sectors that dragged a tad bit in trade. This is despite the fact that India VIX slipped by about 0.68% to 10.2 odd levels. The fear index is actually hitting newer lows, and that's what is leading to more confidence on the bulls coming back on the street as well. Top movers on the Nifty, you had names like Tata Consumer Products, SBI, BEL, Maruti Suzuki and Kotak Mahindra Bank among the top movers on the Nifty today. On the downside, Bajaj Finserv fell behind. You also had Titan, ITC, Hindalco, HDFC and SBI Life, the insurance majors, also see some profit taking in the trade today. Amongst the top movers on the Nifty 500 list, of course, Urban Company, 61.9% higher in trade on day one of its move. We also saw a lot of names like Prozone Realty from the real estate pack, Premier Explosives from the defense pack, Vito Switchgears, Khadim, Mirza International, export-oriented textiles that moved up in trade, PC Jewelers, and you also saw a lot of names like Automobile Global that also ticked higher in trade as well. So that's how the markets have shut shop. But viewers, today is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 75th birthday, and stock market investors have had a lot to cheer under PM Modi's 11-year tenure. We've seen the Nifty and the Sensex that have more than tripled in this time duration. We've seen the Nifty that is up by 3.4 times from 7,474 levels to all the way up to 25,320 now. The BSE Sensex has climbed 3.3 times from 25,000 odd levels back in the year 2014 to now over 82,380 levels as of today. The Nifty Bank has also given over 260% returns, and the broad broader markets, the mid and the small caps are up over 400-450% as well. Among the sectors, we've seen the auto index and the IT index as the top performers with over 300% gains, and at least 478 stocks in the stock markets in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tenure have delivered over 1,000% returns as well. The Indian stock market cap has also risen by 5 times in the last 11 years as well. The market capitalization of Indian equities has surged to 4.6 trillion rupees today, up from 86.8 lakh crore rupees back in June of 2014 as per data compiled by Ace Equity. Top stock performers have been Bajaj twins, Bajaj Finserv and Bajaj Finance, that have delivered whopping returns. For Bajaj Finance, 4,522% returns in the last 11 years. For Bajaj Finserv, over 2,100% returns. And Titan, the jewelry to eyewear maker, has given over 1,000% returns as well. The economy has also jumped quite a bit. India's GDP has grown from $2.1 trillion to $4.2 trillion as well in FY25, with per capita income also rising from $1,500 to $2,880 over the same period as well. This has all happened because of the reforms push that Prime Minister Modi and his government has been doing, overhauling taxation, both direct as well as indirect taxes with GST now, recapitalization of the PSU Banks, and launching the direct benefit transfers as well. And those have been the clear winners that have led the stock markets to cheer the reforms push under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Given to understand, let's see how the rest of the tenure also pans out in terms of how wealth gets created for the average consumer at large, and how our lives improve under his tenure going forward from here as well. All right, viewers, all eyes will be on the US Fed, so stay tuned for that. We will continue to get you all of those details in our session tomorrow as well. Let's actually listen in to all the top industrialists as to what they had to say on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 75th birthday.
जीवित शरद शतम param ardaniya Narendra Bhai. God Almighty himself has sent Modi ji as an avatar purush to lead our motherland to become the greatest nation on earth. It is my good fortune that I have known him closely for more than 3 decades. I have never seen a leader who worked so tirelessly for a better future for India and Indians. He first transformed Gujarat into an economic powerhouse. Now he's transforming the whole of India into a global superpower. I join all my 145 crore fellow Indians in wishing our Prime Minister a happy birthday and praying for his continuous good health. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Hind.
He's also a very keen listener. So if he asks you a question, he will very patiently listen to what you have to say, absorb it. You also need to be well prepared before you meet him, because if you get the wrong fact, then he will immediately catch on to it.
गुजरात के चीफ मिनिस्टर के टाइम पे वो पहले चीफ मिनिस्टर थे जिन्होंने डिजिटल माध्यम को उसकी पावर को समझा. तो उस वक्त टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी एडवांस नहीं थी, तो उन्होंने सारे पंचायत गुजरात के जितने भी उनके विलेजेस थे, सारी पंचायतों को उन्होंने वीसैट के ज़रिए, उस वक्त सैटेलाइट के ज़रिए, मैं बहुत पुरानी बात कर रहा हूँ, सबको जोड़ा ताकि अपने ऑफिस से बैठ के सारे विलेजेस से उनका कांटेक्ट बन सके, सब पंचायत से बात कर सकें, मुखियाओं से बात कर सकें, और जो उनके इश्यूज़ थे एग्रीकल्चर के, छोटे व्यवसायों के, उसको वो अटेंड कर सकें.